Three, two, one. I think we're live. Perfect. Hello, everybody. We'll give it 10 seconds or so as everybody starts to join. But thank you for joining for those that are already here. I'm really delighted today to be with Koreen and Krissie, who will shortly introduce themselves. And we're going to be talking about all things L&D, friends, customer success, partnership, a bit of tour of the platform as well, in terms of how some of our most successful customers are leveraging Thrive, not only as a learning solution, but also as a communication solution, which is one of the trends I want to talk about today. So yeah, really excited to share some of the big things that we're working on. We're already planning for 2025, and there's some really, really exciting things happening there. So we just wanted to give a very general update and see where the conversation goes. Please pop some questions into the chat if you have any. We'll be happy to take those questions. And let's get this started. So firstly, I'll let Koreen introduce herself.
Yeah. Hi, Josh. So early here for me, morning. So if you're in the US, good morning. I am the Chief Product Officer at Thrive. I've been here just over 6 months. And a lot of things have happened in those 6 months. So excited to share today what we're up to. Previous greatest hits, Degree, LinkedIn, lynda.com, D2L, et cetera, et cetera. So really excited to be here, and I'm going to hand it over to Krissie.
Thanks, Koreen. Hi, everyone. I'm Krissie Billingham. I am the Chief Customer Officer here at Thrive. Just coming into my 3rd month here. And like Koreen, very excited to share some of the customer stuff that we've got going on, some of the changes we're making to our ways of working to make our customers even more centric to our business here. Greatest hits, as Koreen so eloquently put it for me, quite similar. Degreed, Go One, Cornerstone, but probably the most interesting thing for anybody watching this is that I've spent the predominance of my career on the customer side of the table. So almost 25, I know I don't look old enough, but almost 25 years in the L&D world, in the L&D space, most of that, like I say, customer side, working in large financial service institutions and insurance institutions mostly. So I've had the pleasure of working in some FMCG businesses too. So yeah, excited to bring all of that experience here to Thrive and yeah, continue to work on the product and the team.
Perfect. Solid introductions. Well, look, we're going to keep this kind of quick fire questions, super informal, give a lot of value to people joining today. And like I said, we're going to jump into the platform probably about 20 minutes time. But please put comments in the chat for Krissie and Koreen, because they've got lots of experience and a wealth of knowledge to share. But let's get straight into it. Let's begin with yourself, Krissie. I guess if you have to define kind of customer success at Thrive and our approach, how would you kind of summarize that in a few sentences?
So customer success at Thrive, I feel like, is very different to most of the other vendors that I've had the privilege to work at. So at Thrive, our customers are very much front and center of the work that we do. We are deliberately very engaged with our customers. We present ourselves within those relationships as the credible advisor, as the trusted advisor. And we really bring with us a great deal of experience and credibility from lived experience, right? So what I mean by that is, in our team, insanely, we have like 150 years experience in the L&D world. So the real differentiator for me at Thrive is that actual lived experience and credibility of being on the customer side of the table, understanding the challenges that you'll all work through, understanding the celebrations that you'll have along the way, understanding, the value that you have to prove, and understanding, how to help you be creative, how to challenge you on loads of different things. And I think it's a real USP for us to have that much depth and breadth of real customer experience here. So that's, I think, what makes us quite different.
Mm-hmm. And we've made a decision this year, haven't we, to like now only have customer success leads and managers who actually have L&D experience, which is the first time I've seen this across kind of LMS, LXP, learning technology vendors, which I think is going to have huge value when speaking to our customers to drive the change that we want to see, right?
For sure, because I think it's really hard to be a trusted advisor. It's really hard to be taken seriously when you just talk about SaaS and you just talk about your product and you just talk about the challenges of, the SaaS world or the product stuff. I think what really makes the difference is to be able to act with empathy, to be able to advise with empathy, to be able to challenge with empathy, and to really help our customers to connect the dots between the investment that you've made, the work that you're trying to do, and how that hits your bottom line, how that impacts your organization's culture, what that looks like, what costs that might be saving you. So for us, it's been a real deliberate hiring choice, and I think will continue to be a deliberate hiring choice for us, because empathy is a real kind of key skill that I think is missing from a lot of generic customer success roles.
And having worked on both sides with that in mind, you've done the L&D roles at large companies, lots of different industries. You've been on the vendor side. What are some of those big challenges you think from a customer perspective that we're really addressing with our new approach that you've seen over the years?
Really good question, actually. And I think for me, I don't know if it would be surprising or reassuring to the people listening to this conversation, but I would say across my career, not at Thrive, but across my career, you would be really surprised by the amount of customers that we work with or that I have worked with in the past, definitely, who don't actually really know what they bought the product to solve for. And so one of the biggest challenges are, helping everybody who's involved in the project, helping everybody in that L&D or that communications team to really lock that down, really lock that in. Like, how will you know that you've been successful? What is it you're going after? What are your real demonstrable value pieces that you're looking to kind of pull out at the end of it? It can't just be engagement or increased consumption or anything like that, and also it can't be that I want a learning culture. We'll push around, okay, when you get to a learning culture, what does that look like then? What changes? What's different? How do you want to articulate that? So that for me has been a really prevalent challenge. Of course, everybody does a great job of selling the product and talking about the product, and everybody does a great job of buying it. But when you come to boiling it down, that takes work, it takes effort. So if you're listening to this thinking, yeah, that sounds like me, you're not on your own. There's a lot of people in the industry who are in that situation. I myself was once in that situation too. I think the other thing is that it gets treated as like a once and done. So we get into buying the product, we go through implementation, we have implementation itis, we tick the implementation box, and then we walk away and think it's just going to take care of itself. And I think really putting the consumer at the center of what you're doing, really thinking about how you want to creatively communicate, really thinking about the engagement and the business outcomes that you want to see is where we are really pushing our customers to focus, and where we'll really challenge our customers to focus, because they're the things, like keeping the hum going, keeping the communication going, keeping it creative, keeping the consumer at the center of what you're doing as an L&D person is critical. And the last thing I'll say on this point, because I know you probably want me to hurry up, is people try to aim for perfection, and perfection is the enemy of progress. So think about what your MVP might be. Think about how you can do something and iterate and grow. Don't try to get everything perfect on the first time that you're pushing a button, or you're sending out a campaign, or you're running a learning program, because you learn through running and kind of going with something that's not quite perfect.
And you made a few points there about kind of business impact, moving beyond vanity metrics, views, like, shares, completions, etc. And probably a question for both of you, and looping Koreen in here. Like, what role is data analytics playing improving those customer outcomes to help our customers, improve those bigger KPIs, revenue, speed to competence, reducing attrition, those types of things? Like, I know, Koreen, we're doing a lot with data at the minute. It's like, how's that really playing a role in this?
Yeah, I think it's no surprise I'll probably bring up skills in this to answer this question. I think one of the things that's been a challenge for L&D and organizations overall is to draw that connection between the activity and the work that's happening in L&D and the results in the business. And how can you kind of thread through and show the connective kind of effort that's happening, and how L&D is being strategic and investment in actually helping the business evolve. So that idea of ROI, which is kind of the historical way of thinking about it, and now everyone talking about impact, I think is really it's been very difficult for L&D to figure out how to make those connections previously. And now, as we're starting to look at skills and how do businesses think about skills and what skills are needed to stay competitive and drive business results, that's where L&D can really shine in saying we can help you develop the skills that are needed from a business perspective to drive business results. And so skills are starting to be a data point that L&D and HR teams are looking at to connect into the business value and business results. I will caution, I don't think skills in and of themselves tell the story. It's the correlation between skills and skill development and the business metrics that the rest of the business looks at for success. It's those connections that actually it's important. But now L&D has a stake in those conversations by being able to talk about their ability to impact skill development over time.
And that's, again, part of that service and the experience that we offer, right? With our impact service as well. Like, I think we're one of the only vendors that have full-time an army of data analysts working with customers to really prove business impact, whatever that might be. And I think it's that data analysts working in partnership with customer success to really give and present that value back to the customer.
I will say, coming here and like, I've never seen impact analysis done for customers and the way that Thrive does it. The ability to kind of show the connection between learning and business metrics and really dig into the use cases that customers are trying to solve and really understanding what impact they're trying to have with their learning programs and literally being able to show the data of how those things are improving over time is incredible. So the ability to really tell that story, and going back to Krissie's team, like that collaboration between product and data and the customer service consultative side is where the magic really happens.
Yeah. And I think that and I say this with love and with my L&D practitioner hat on, I think there's a lot of noise in the industry about how L&D people lack the ability to think in data and to think in impacts. And I think that probably was true 5 to 7 years ago. But I think the strategic L&D people that we work with are certainly on the front foot in terms of being able to connect data and analytics to outcomes and impact. And to your point, I think, you know, we are one of the only vendors that I've ever known to have that impact service. And I think it's probably, you know, a lot of the reason why our customers win as many awards as they do with that external recognition is because they are thinking strategically, they are thinking commercially, and we're challenging them and helping them to do that along the way. So yeah, just wanted to say that with love, with my L&D hat on, that we're definitely making steps in the right direction as far as data and analytics is concerned. We definitely get a lot more questions. We definitely get pushed a lot harder around proof and outcomes, and that's social proof. And how do we quantify that as well as the quantitative stuff?
Love that. Well, let's move it to trends a little bit to your world, Koreen. You know, the market's changed in the last few years with, you know, the post-pandemic world, remote work, and all those different challenges that's presented. What are some of the key trends that you're seeing, let's say the next kind of 1 to 3 years, with regards to general kind of learning tech, but also in regards to kind of skills development and how that's changing how we should approach things?
Yeah, and obviously we can't have a webinar without mentioning AI. So we're going to have to,
of course,
the elephant in the room. Yeah, so the pandemic certainly forced a lot of organizations to accelerate their digital transformation. I think that was very clear that a lot of organizations had kind of been making progress, moving along. There was kind of some steady, but there was no real catalyst or, you know, big scary driver for people to really push that. And so obviously in the pandemic, we saw that digital transformation became one of the biggest changes in our industry overall. And now we're in this kind of weird in-between state where I think some organizations are thinking, oh, we need to return to office. Some organizations are like, no, we can figure it out in some hybrid approach. And some are staying remote first or thinking about being remote first. And so how you think about product and supporting those different use cases becomes really important, because every organization is kind of on their own journey of figuring out how they're building culture, how they're developing employees, how they're having impact with L&D. And L&D is often a connective tissue from a place for people to be able to connect around learning. So there's some really interesting things, I think, from a product perspective. If I look at the world that we live in and kind of the reality of where our customers are. They're struggling to figure out, how do we deliver learning if it's not classroom based and now it's digital first, and can we have the same impact from those types of experiences? They're thinking about, how do we deliver content in different ways, and think about different approaches from just what are the different types of content that resonate? What are the types of experiences that, as we kind of get back to the skills piece, how do you actually develop skills remotely if people aren't in the office? And thinking about those techniques and strategies from a product experience perspective is super fun for me, because my background was in immersive learning and thinking about how to change behavior. And we've now seen so much change on the technology side and so much opportunity, that the future is really, I think, in the next 3 years. Right now, I'd like to say we're at like the beginning of the internet stages of AI, that like everybody's experimenting. We're kind of in the dial-up modem stage of AI. Like we haven't really figured out how this works yet. It's not integrated in with everything that we do yet. And there's a lot of experimentation. I think what we'll see over the next couple of years is kind of getting back to Krissie's opening statement around focusing on the business problems you want to solve. How can this technology actually solve some real challenges within your organization? We're already seeing that at Thrive. We're already talking to customers and saying, what are the biggest problems to solve? Not necessarily the ooh shiny, but how can we actually implement AI in a way to make learning more effective, have bigger business impact, thinking about making the role of the jobs of L&D easier, which is often one of the big barriers for customers, is how do you make this easier for our internal teams to deliver effective learning? So one, I think we have a great customer base that is interested in kind of digging into the business problems to solve. And two, we also have a lot of customers that are interested in innovation. Like, how do we actually do this? What's the real meaningful ways? So I think the skills piece is part of it. I think the digital transformation catalyst over the last few years has kind of prepared us for this. And I think AI is where we'll start to see, certainly, I mean, we're going to show some plans today, certainly our connection in with what are the biggest customer needs and how can we leverage some new tech to solve those problems in different ways, I think is where I think everyone will start to go.
I love that. Some really interesting points there. And yeah, we'll maybe not today, because we've got our customer event in a month's time where we're going to unveil all our big plans, but we might tease them a bit today. We're definitely thinking about some of those big things that you've mentioned there around skills. Obviously, AI goes without surprise there, which is really exciting. I just want to bring it back, and maybe it's a question for both of you to get your perspective on this. But how do you also see kind of the role of L&D teams and professionals evolving in light of all of this technical change, all this AI, the new features? How do you see the role evolving? Because obviously we have a lot of kind of services and support to level up teams. But how do you think it's actually going to impact them? Maybe Krissie, for you to begin with, having kind of been in L&D roles.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I've talked about this quite a lot recently, and it's like, I am old enough to remember like the good old days when all the L&D people thought that e-learning was going to come and take their job. And I do think there is an element of that existing in the L&D space, right, around AI. But actually what I'm seeing in a more prevalent way is people looking at ways that AI can help them to be more impactful in the work that they're doing. So instead of spending their time on design and delivery, let's say, they can use their time to really focus and dig into strategic relationships and figuring out, you know, what's the work that needs to be done, what's the impact that we're trying to achieve, what's the culture we're trying to change. And I think that they will be much more time rich once they start to deploy some of those AI tools to help them with some of the more hot tasks that an L&D person works through. I don't think it will, how do I want to phrase this? Like, it's not going to come and take the jobs of L&D AI, and we need to start to look at it as a really positive thing. And how do we deploy it? How do we leverage it to help us to reach more people in a more meaningful way, and to really create a consumer experience that puts the consumer at the center of what they want to do, not at the center of what the organization is trying to get them to do. So I do think AI really helps us to hyper-personalize. I think AI really helps us to streamline. And I think AI really helps us to just excel in doing less of the transactional tasks and transactional work as well as other things. But with my L&D hat on, that's kind of where I go. That's sort of my thinking.
Yeah, I will reinforce that by saying I think it's going to force L&D to be even more strategic.
Yeah, agreed. And I think in some parts we really need to do that. We need to chivvy that last 10% along.
I mean, if you think, and I'm making up numbers here, but if you think like 50% of L&D's time is in content development or some of the management tasks or figuring out how to analyze data, if we have tools that can do those things to accelerate some of that work that feels very, to your point, Krissie, tactical of like just executing on pieces, that is time that's then freed up to be more strategic, to better understand the problems to solve, to better evaluate, and L&D really being experts in the organization and deeply understanding the business problems, and then thinking about where are the levers that L&D can pull to have an impact on the business. That's a real shift, I think, for a lot of organizations. And I think it's going to be welcome because, to Krissie's point, I think a lot of L&D folks have wanted to kind of step into this role, but have been burdened by a lot of the execution type work. So as that shifts, I think it's an exciting opportunity, honestly, for L&D to kind of rethink their role in the organization and how, I mean, I'm old enough that binders were a thing in training. Krissie's like, e-learning's taking your jobs. I was like, right, because we were all making binders.
Yeah.
but I think like what e-learning actually did was take our focus away from printing out and like all of the actual binder creation into how can we more creatively interact with folks. And maybe we didn't always get it right in the e-learning side. And I don't think we'll always get it right with AI, but we moved along this continuum of shifting our focus and thinking about how we can be more strategic. And now we're at a real interesting inflection point to really be a strategic driver of a business.
I really think that's true. And I think, the clues in the title, right? Intelligence. I think what it allows us to do is to apply a layer of intelligence onto work that would have taken so long potentially and not have that level of kind of complexity or depth to it. But I love your like internet analogy, like we're in the early stages of dial-up. I think that's so true. And the continuum is really important. Like people look at AI and they think it's ChatGPT, right? But look back at how AI is manifested in your day-to-day life and how much easier it makes your life right now. You're like turning on the lights in your house, asking Alexa to do that, asking Alexa to add something to a shopping list, following the algorithm on Netflix. It's all around us, and we haven't even realized that. And we need to sort of think about our use cases, our application, where it can free up the actual human power to do the work human power can do. And let's really put the AI stuff to work for the other stuff, the intellectual stuff.
Yeah. And that's where a lot of our roadmap's heading. Our roadmap is there to create more efficiencies like authoring, search, analytics. So L&D can focus more on those big strategic initiatives. And we can save a lot of time. And that's been when Koreen and I have been spending time with customers, it's been trying to understand that, like, how can we save you time so you can focus on the big things? Because you can get so bogged down in authoring tools, for example, where it's very heavy and it's clunky and it's hard experience. So we need to kind of create those efficiencies.
And it's that shortcut to outcomes as well, right? It's that shortcut to outcomes. You could spend hours, days even analyzing big data sets. You don't need to do that anymore. You can ask it for something, in the ChatGPT sense. You can throw a load of stuff in, it's going to throw a load of stuff out. It's going to save you, I guarantee, hours. But anyway, I could wax lyrical about this, and I sense we
absolutely. We do. Well, I just want to give like a very kind of 2 to 5 minutes, just high level overview of some of our customers that are actually gone live this year and some a little bit further away, and how they're leveraging the platform. We've had some really, really exciting customers come on board that we've kicked off recently. Some amazing kind of brands, Next and Nando's, and all these really iconic brands that are leveraging in different ways. So I just want to kind of share with everybody the platform for those that haven't seen it, and we'll just talk to that very quickly. So I'm just going to share my screen. And we've got a few different examples. So number one, which is one of my personal favorites, is Avon. It's one of my personal favorites because of the use case. Like, this is millions of users. They're not employees. It's helping Lots of different representatives earn additional income, so really empowering people to do that through learning and through knowledge about the different products that Avon have. And the interesting thing with Avon in terms of how they're leveraging it, yes, it's campaign based and they're pushing out campaigns around different products to drive engagement, but they're really combining that communication feel as well with this. So it's that kind of idea of how do we have one single place to get access to learning, to get access to knowledge, but also comms, rather than sending people to lots of different platforms. It's also very multilingual, 33 markets, 51 different languages, integrated with their main ordering app as well. So really deeply integrated into that workflow, if you like. Alongside that, they're also doing live broadcasts where thousands of people will join these sessions to join a live session about a product range or an initiative. So it allows them to join wherever they are, regardless of location as well. So their use case is really powerful, mainly because of that scale, but also the simplicity of it as well. There's no compliance in here. It's just product training, enabling people to make more money, basically, through being an Avon rep, which is really cool. Another one, which again, we've spent a lot of time with, is Frasers Group. So they're one of the biggest retailers in Europe, 40,000 plus employees, 28 different retail brands and fascias like House of Fraser, Sports Direct, Game, Jack Wills, etc., etc. And they started using this as a learning platform. It was a replacement to a traditional LMS. But over the last month, they've actually launched it as a comms tool as well. So now all of those colleagues have one home to go to. Yes, for compliance and yes, for mandatory training, all those things. But now it's the main way they communicate. So think about switching off SharePoints or intranets and having that one single home to get access to everything. And I think that's really powerful, especially in a retail environment where people just want simplicity, especially when they're on the shop floor serving customers. So what you'll find within here is quick links to other platforms, easily integrated into holiday booking systems and HR tools, but also enables them to get access to lots of different knowledge, whether it's the latest retail products, new till training systems. They've launched a finance product as well, and that's been a real driver for lots of their award submissions, where they've seen increase of sales based on the users that have been going through that training as well. So there's some really cool things in there that they've been doing. Another customer, which I absolutely love, and it's just logged me out, so I'm just going to quickly navigate into that, is British Airways, who are very much focused around skills, but also running lots of powerful campaigns in here, such as Black History Month as well. So they're really leveraging that idea of spaced repetition so that people can be nudged with different styles of content at the right time to the right audience based on the behavior and trends that they see across the workforce. So that's the idea of moving away from let's just upload a piece of content because it's ready to a place where we can understand the data and release it at the right time to help drive engagement. But beyond that, they've also got lots of things like time filters to enable people to filter on 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or even longer, and integrating that with things like Blinkist and Go On and Udemy to provide that really fresh experience in there as well. And then lastly, some other ones, Deciem, one of our longest serving customers, they're really doing some interesting things at the minute from a leadership perspective. Lots of new launches around leadership and performance management, and they're using Thrive as a vehicle to deliver that change across the organization. And yes, that might be content they're uploading from a user-generated perspective, where people can upload their own content, but they'll also leverage our content as well, which we offer here at Thrive, to supplement that too. So it really is that balance from a content perspective of, yes, you want some great user-generated content, but why don't you actually blend that with different styles of content to drive the engagement? And then you'll see, from that perspective, they've integrated things like LinkedIn Learning into here, fully integrated, searchable, and all tracks in one single place. Again, rather than having to send people out. We've all worked with the larger content vendors. And imagine if you're a learner, you go into the LMS or LXP and then you've got to click out to different platforms. It's just quite a disjointed experience. And then the last one I just want to touch on very quickly is Jet2. We also just entered an award with the amazing Jet2 team in the contact center for learning technologies. They've seen some huge business performance increases around customer service, especially in their contact centers. And for them, it's about, how do they have all of their essentials, everything that somebody in a contact center could possibly need to know when on a customer call in one place. So this is literally like a co-pilot sitting alongside contact center employees. So if they are on a phone, they can quickly get to a piece of knowledge. They've got live call recordings, FAQ sections, and it's really becoming more of a performance support tool than ever before. So yes, we are a kind of learning system for compliance, but it is that performance support tool in the moment to help people ultimately do their jobs. We don't want people to be in this for hours and hours a day. It's in the moment of need where it's most important, so they can actually succeed in their jobs. So there's some of the kind of different types of use cases that we're seeing. Unsurprisingly, there's lots of focus around, integration, which is important to us. But it's all about consolidation at the minute. How do we help teams consolidate the tools so it's less complex and create a much more simpler experience, not only for the end learner, which obviously is super important, but for the L&D teams as well, not having to manage multiple platforms and do different reports as well. And the AI side of things, like I said, I'm going to tease that today. Our main themes of AI at the minute that we're focusing on is authoring, step one, enabling people to build content faster than ever before, using prompts, deconstructing long, heavy PDFs to build brilliant, amazing experiences from a course perspective. Search is second. Semantic search. How do we really understand the query and the input from a learner and help that match that to the content and answer very quickly through searching within the content? So that's really exciting. Embedded analytics. So that's the idea of having it fully AI embedded analytics with predictive recommendations in there to help L&D teams drive things forward. And then lastly, which is Koreen's world and expertise, all around adaptive and all around skills, and offering those truly personalized experiences to L&D teams as well. So that's just a very high level. Obviously, we could spend hours doing long demos of the platform, but we don't need to do that. I just wanted to give you some ideas of how lots of our customers are leveraging the product and the solution. So I'm going to stop there. Any kind of final thoughts, questions, Krissie, Koreen?
I'm just excited to show folks what's coming. So stay tuned. Hold on to your hats. There's some really cool things coming.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Really excited about what's coming for our customers. I'm really excited what's coming for their consumers, their end users, because it really is going to kind of change the game for a lot of organizations. And I'm really excited to talk about that a little bit more at Thrive Live. So I'm not going to steal any thunder there.
And we've mentioned Thrive Live a few times. For those customers on the call, I can't see who's on the call. It's the 27th of November in London, full day event. We have lots of practical sessions from customers, kind of Genius Bar, Apple style workshops to get lots of value out of that. We've got headline speakers in Fern Cotton, Spencer Matthews and Dan Murray Slater from Heights, and a few more surprises up our sleeve as well. And yeah, to Krissie's point, we'll also be unveiling our 2025 roadmap as well, in terms of all the exciting innovation stuff, which obviously we're all excited about, but also some of the basics as well, because it's a balancing act between, the traditional LMS features which companies need, which we're absolutely focused on, plus all the kind of shiny, wow, exciting things which people get excited about as well. So for those that are on the call who haven't signed up yet, speak to your customer success manager if you haven't already and get signed up, because it'll be a good event. So thank you, Krissie. Thanks, Koreen, for joining and sharing lots of insights. I'm sure we could stay on this all afternoon, but people are busy, so we'll leave them to it. And yeah, have a good rest of the day, and thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot, Josh. Thanks, Koreen. See ya.
Thank you.
See you.